Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about a very important concept for survival, and that is economy of motion. Whether it's a grid down situation, you're bugging out, or you find yourself lost in the woods, you're going to want to conserve your energy, your resources, and your bodily fluids. Just as you would not want to work for a job where it costs you $5 for every dollar that you earned, you certainly wouldn't want to expend 500 calories for every calorie worth of food that you foraged for in the woods. Today I'm going to show you several plants that are easy to identify, easy to find, and easy to harvest that do double duty and can help you to survive if you find yourself in a situation where you are out of food and water. The first plant that I'd like to show you today is Nephrolepis cordifolia, or the tubular sword fern. This plant is one that is considered an invasive species in the United States and a nuisance plant because it outcompetes native species and grows everywhere and takes over in all kinds of wooded areas. You can find it along roadsides and in disturbed places. And this plant is one that you can easily pull up out of the ground, and it contains these tubular roots. Now, these roots are edible. They have a consistency similar to that of a Jerusalem artichoke. Now, I've rinsed this one off, and you can eat it right out of the ground if you'd like. It's very juicy. And you can also bake these in the oven, and then they'll shrivel down and get a kind of a sweet, chewy consistency. Now, the tubular sword fern can be identified by the long opposite leaves, one on each side of the plant, and when you pull it up, it's going to have those tubular roots. Now, this plant is considered to be an anti-diarrheal plant as well, according to Filipino folk medicine. But one important point about the tubes or tubular roots of this plant that I wanted to point out to you is that they are 90% water. So if you're in a situation where you can't find any drinking water, you can pull up a bunch of these, and by eating them, you can replace some of your bodily fluids. The next plant that I'm going to show you today is Callicarpa americana, or the American beauty berry. This plant has fruit on it that ripen in August here in the state of Florida. And this plant is very easily identified by this bright, bright purple berry that grows on it. And many people believe this plant to be poisonous, but in fact it is completely edible. These berries can be eaten raw, right off of the vine. They are mildly sweet, but also contain tiny little seeds in them, so they're kind of chunky and chewy going down. I have eaten them raw, and I've also used them to make really good jam and some mighty fine wine. Beautyberry wine is actually a dry and delicious wine product. Another use for the American beautyberry plant is as an insect repellent. The leaves of the beautyberry plant can be crushed up and rubbed on the skin as an insect repellent. Is pretty good at repelling mosquitoes. When hiking, I'll sometimes crush up a couple of these and stick one behind each of my ears, believe it or not, because I don't like spraying insect repellent around my face, and they keep the mosquitoes from buzzing around my head. The beautyberries themselves are rich in nutrients and antioxidants and can provide some calories in a survival situation. The last plant that I'm going to talk to you about today is Biden's alba. Biden's alba is also known as Spanish needle, and this plant is considered to be a nuisance by many people because it does outcompete a lot of other species, and is considered a nuisance because it takes over lawns and folks are considering it a weed and wanting to just eradicate it. This plant, however, has a lot of value and is an extremely important plant. I would be growing this plant and harvesting it rather than trying to get rid of it. Now, you can identify this plant because it kind of looks like spinach, and it has these small flowers on the top. Now, these flowers can be eaten just by themselves or in a salad. And the leaves of this plant can be eaten in small quantities raw, or they can be boiled and used as a pot herb or prepared similar to as you would to spinach. Now, aside from providing nutrients, calories, and antioxidants, this plant also has antimicrobial properties. You can make an infusion of all parts of this plant and drink it, and this provides benefit for fighting infections such as staph infections, strep, pneumonia, gonorrhea, and malaria. It has also been shown to be beneficial in combating antibiotic-resistant infections such as MRSA. Now, the seeds of the Biden's alba, or Spanish needles as the common name, can be ground up into a powder and used to treat wounds as an antiseptic and also as a blood clotting agent to stop bleeding. This plant is very widespread and can be found in wooded areas, in disturbed areas, and along the sides of roads. Very easy to identify, it's very easy to harvest, and it has multiple uses, and this plant could in fact save your life. Well, that's all that I have for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. For those of you who are watching this and saying, well, I already know all of this, well, this video is not for you. This video is for those of you who don't know these things, because knowing these pieces of information about these commonly available plants could help you to survive.